sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
She packed my bags last night pre-flight. 0 hours, 9 a.m. And I'm gonna be high as a kite by then.
All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
I miss the earth so much. I miss my wife. It's lonely out in space. Such a timeless flight. I think it's gonna be a long, long time. The touchdown brings me round again to find I'm not the man they think I am at home. Oh no, 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 I'm a rocket man. Rocket man, burning at his fuse of heaven home. Mars ain't the kind of place to raise your kids. In fact, it's cold as ice. And there's no one there to raise them if you did. And all the science I don't understand. It's just my job 5 days a week. Rocket man.
There we go. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, podcast fans of all ages. I'm Dave Valente. Thank you for joining us on the Political Deep Dive. Joined as always by Dan the Man Fishman.
What is shaking, Mr. V?
Sometimes when I go to the bathroom.
Sometimes everybody does.
Sometimes.
Well, and there's a reality ahead of everybody. That there's going to be a point in time at which you are not going to be as awesome about going to the bathroom as you are today. So prepare.
This is true. Yeah, especially for guys. Yeah.
Well, it's just one of those things.
In fact, I'm going to a urologist tomorrow, so I mean, hey, mazel tov.
Mazel tov. It's a good thing to do on St. Patrick's Day. The luck of the Irish be with you.
Yeah. So tomorrow's St. Patrick's Day. I'm wearing my cat St. Patrick's Day T-shirt. Got a couple of them. So
good stuff.
Yeah. So basketball brackets are out. So if you're into college basketball, it's a fun time of year. And Mr. Queeter, the cake is great, but it was Pie Day on Friday. Did you have pie on Friday, Dan?
I did not have pie. I have I'm not a big pie eater, and generally I'm not a big sweets eater. However, my wife made a chocolate cake, so we had a little chocolate cake.
Okay, Mr. Queeter, Dan obviously has your cake.
Yes. Although, I have to quote here, I don't know if you've played Portal, but the famous line from Portal, the cake is a lie.
The cake is a lie.
Yeah. Tom went to one of my favorite restaurants in the world, the Salt Lick. It's in Driftwood, Texas. They've changed it up since I left there. But the barbecue pit is so big, you can't put your hands around it even a little bit. And people have mops with barbecue sauce. And they're
Is this
mopping the
like a
barbecue.
place that does oil drums? Is
It's a giant stone built
like
pit.
a stone circle?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like a large well, and they feed you family style. So
Yeah.
essentially, the holy trinity of Texas barbecue: ribs, sausage, and brisket. Until you
Jesus Christ.
say no more, and then they bring you. They never had pecan pie when I was there. They had cobbler when I was there. You get all the cobbler you could eat after all the meat that you could eat. And the best thing about it was in a dry county. So they encouraged you to bring your own booze, which was awesome.
Speaking of booze and barbecue, I went to Black Draft distillery here in Berkeley County, West Virginia, and I didn't know what this was. It was peach liquor of some sort. But it turns out to be a neutral spirit, which is 190 proof. So I essentially got peach flavored paint thinner. And
Wow.
well, I mean, 198 proof is essentially like the highest proof, like for Everclear. If you want to have a comparable, so good luck to me on that one. Uh, but they also had a nice barbecue, like a food truck out there with us, and decent barbecue. I had a brisket sandwich, very, but I still haven't had the great barbecue experience here. And I never found any place in DC that I liked. There's a decent one in Alexandria called Pork Barrel. Um, Mountaineer Meat Smokers out here is decent, but like nothing compares to like Dreamland when I was down in Atlanta. That place you would drive by it and you'd smell it and you'd stop because they would open up that smoker and just let that smoke blow across the road and whip into the parking lot to grab me some
Oh,
ribs.
that's the best.
Oh God, there's nothing better than charred meat smell.
Well, the only thing better than charred meat smell is charred meat eating. Like, I
Uh,
mean, I do love like some bird ends, uh, and we were talking about this the other day. Crispy bird skin, like crispy chicken skin, duck skin. Those things just so good.
Daryl knows Dreamland. He's from Alabama. He's Dreamland's based out of Tuscaloosa, and
Interesting.
really good barbecue. I love Dreamland. So it's been a week. Like I said, it's March Madness. The brackets are out. It's been a long time since I've really focused on. Like I pay attention to my college. See how far they can get. They got knocked out of their conference tournament, so they're not playing in the big tournament this year. But
Well, let me just, and that's Kennesaw State, right?
yeah,
Let me just say though that our brackets are back online again, the one that you have participated in before, and we'll put a link in the Facebook page
yeah.
of the
Hey,
of this
Carol.
for the show. So anybody who wants to is welcome to join. We play on an honor code. If you put a bracket in, you are committing to
Getting
send
spanked.
$5 to the winner
Oh, I
via
was thinking
PayPal,
getting.
Venmo, however they want to do. We're not collecting any money up front. You can totally cheat your way and not pay any money, but we're libertarians. We generally
Well,
honor contracts, and so part of the contract is that if you enter our pool, then you're going to send $5 to the winner.
I mean, I'm still okay with consensual spanking too. So
Yeah, absolutely. We use CBS Sportsline. Daryl, you've done ours before. You've done mine before. We still call it the Freedom Free Throw Follies, um, and it's a wide variety of people. We got 57 people invited so far, so make more. But chances are pretty good.
come on
Daryl, I'm
down.
going to tell you which email address you are invited. You're invited with an address. Oh, you probably don't have access to this email anymore. It ends in fpp.cc. But maybe you do. I don't know. But you should definitely join our pool,
Yeah,
and it'll be a good time.
it will be. It will be. I'll be rooting for New Mexico, my childhood team,
I
and
think I'm
they're
I think I'm rooting for Maryland. Oddly enough,
well, they're the 10 seed in the South, playing Marquette, and South is
Maryland is a
like
10
the
seed.
no,
Oh,
New Mexico's a 10 seed playing Marquette. Maryland, Queen Mary's Land is
Maryland should be a 1 or 2.
Maryland's a 4 seed playing Grand Canyon.
Wow. Well, I like
They
the
got the
Green
they got
Canyon.
the vaunted 13 seed now. Every tournament has a 13 seed upset. So check it out.
Oh,
The
see,
last few years we've seen some 1 seeds go down. So
I always say that it's a 5-12. There's always a 5-12 upset.
it's the last few years been 4-13.
Interesting.
And upsets are moving up the bracket. It used to be like first seeds would just sail right through. We've seen Virginia, and a couple other schools get knocked out as number 1 seeds in the first round. So don't always pick the number 1 seed, although Southern Illinois, Norfolk State, um, I'm not even sure. Is that Elkhorn State maybe in St. Francis of Pennsylvania and American versus in Mount St. Mary's, um, that are playing the play-in game. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see an upset or two, but we always see a good upset in that first round, and it usually is in my bracket that blows the hell out of my bracket, just
Well,
flushes it
so
right down the toilet.
interestingly enough, I mean, I've had a problem for a long time where I pick Big 12 teams because I've been rooting for
Hey,
Texas,
Brandy,
but Texas isn't in the Big 12 anymore.
they are not.
So I don't have to pick Kansas or Oklahoma or any of those other loser teams that have screwed me in the past.
Is
But
Texas in the tournament?
boy, I don't know actually. But I'll tell you in a second.
Yeah, they're in the play-in game. Texas or Xavier will play the 6th seed in Illinois. Texas would be
Interesting.
an 11 seed if they win.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean
It's a
Texas is
little too much, Daryl. I think 14 of 16 teams in the tourney. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I know that the SEC's got a good basketball conference, but I think it's a little too. You probably could have pumped in a couple more mid majors that would have been a little more competitive than the 14th and 13th SEC team.
yeah. Yeah, and I tell you, it's Houston is the number 1 seed as well, and I have fond memories of Phi Slamma Jamma with
Oh yeah,
Clyde Drexler and Hakeem
I actually
Olajuwon.
got 5 fun memories of Vice Slamma Jamma losing in Albuquerque, New Mexico,
To
on
Georgia, to
the
Georgetown.
to
To
North Carolina
Georgetown or
State.
to North Carolina
North Carolina,
State.
Jim
Yeah,
Valvano, yeah,
yeah,
running around the floor after that.
yeah. It was a pretty crazy thing that both of those teams, uh, both those Houston teams were excellent. I couldn't believe they didn't
Yeah,
win.
yeah.
Um,
It was like all those Ralph Sampson Virginia teams, and
right.
never quite got there. But anyway, been again another busy week when it comes to the Trump administration and um, just all kinds of fun that's been going on. Uh, Donald Trump has turned car salesman in response to the backlash against Tesla Motors, and we've seen college students detained. I I don't agree with what they were saying, but I will not. There's I don't
There's an
see
interesting thing.
why
The thing that bothers me the most about Khalil Mahmoud, is that
Mahmoud Khalil. Yeah,
Mahmoud Khalil is that we don't even know if it's a free speech issue because it's a due process issue,
yeah.
right? No charges have been filed, right?
No, they're treating him like a enemy combatant.
Yeah, and like if he were, uh, you know, supposedly there's so he is a member of Quad, uh, Columbia University, whatever the AD stands for, uh, and they have been very pro Hamas. They said, October 7th is legitimate resistance. Violence is the only thing. We should be violent in our resistance, stuff like that. And if you belong to an organization, that doesn't necessarily mean that you agree with all the things that they say. However, there's also people say he's in the library, so he was trespassing. That
Yeah, but is that? I mean, again, somebody who is here legally
it was the
is
university owns the library, and they ask you to vacate, and you don't. You're trespassing.
yeah, but does that mean you get deported?
Yes, it is clearly a condition of his being here. He cannot do that. If he breaks the law, the U.S. has the right to revoke any of his immigration stuff until he's a citizen.
But he doesn't. If he's not getting due process, how are we determining
Well,
that he's
that's
broken the
exactly
law?
it. That's exactly it. And that's what I'm saying, is that he has to be given due process. And so that part is completely broken.
So
So
Trump is using the not only here but the
the
Alien
Aliens
Enemies
Act,
Act of
Aliens and Sedition.
1798.
Yep.
Quite honestly, like we have we are in a government by revenge right now.
Yeah.
We are in a situation where the government is actively working against so many people right now.
Yeah. And
Um,
I truly believe that first of all, it's wrong. It's
yes.
100% wrong. But it didn't start here. And I don't think it's
No,
going to
no.
end here. We've been in this case, and this is the problem with it, is that Trump is batshit crazy, right? But he's not wrong to suggest that there was malicious targeting of him by the powers that be.
Yeah.
I mean, that was proven, and so here we are in this never-ending escalation. And Trump, what's happening now is the worst, right? Okay, he's targeted for investigation, etc. But that doesn't mean that he actually broke the law or that the people who targeted him, you could argue that targeting isn't nice. But it doesn't, when Biden did it, when they said, okay, we want to investigate Trump, either they found out that he broke the law or they didn't. It's not a, it's not a criminal prosecution as opposed to what we're seeing now, where Trump is just throwing all the rules out and locking up people. Told judges that we do have a soon-to-be lawyer,
Yeah.
Daryl Perry, with us. So, Daryl, if you can explain that a little bit longer, because I
Yeah.
can't cut and paste from here.
USC. Yeah. 1227.
Actually, I can cut and paste from here.
Wow. All right. But I mean, look, the problem with what Biden did was the serious charges that Donald Trump was facing, whether it was related to the documents, whether it was related to January 6th, all of that stuff is that Joe Biden slow walked it so it hit during the election. Like,
Right.
dumbass.
If they had gone after
You
him,
had all the evidence.
not only the evidence, they had the country behind him, so that they were able to. They had, I mean, Mitch McConnell, to his credit, hasn't come back around and been supporting Donald Trump. But you had Lindsey Graham, you had all these other people saying that what happened was a bridge too far. That was the time to strike.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, the
but
bridge rebuilt itself for Lindsey Graham and a lot of the Republicans who spoke out after
yeah,
January
yeah,
6th.
exactly. Well, and what's funny, of course, is that Trump has forgiven all of them. But uh, the essence of what Trump did in the past, right? Being investigated. If you break the law or there's suspicion, you should be investigated. The
Yeah.
question is, was he guilty of the things that they accused him?
And here's the problem. Like now he is ignoring. So federal court ordered that the deportation of Venezuelans to El Salvador should
He
be
halted.
stopped, and
Right.
he ignored it. The Supreme Court decision last year on my birthday, worst birthday present ever, um, that says basically the president can do anything under the color of his administration and not be uh, he can't be taken to court over it. The only legal remedy that we have is impeachment.
Right.
Right now, there's no way he's going to get impeached, and it's a very hard bar to impeach a president. I mean, impeachment is relatively simple. It just takes a simple majority in the House.
Right.
Yeah, again,
Conviction.
Republicans have a majority in there.
Right.
Democrats have actually lost a couple of House members due to death in the last couple weeks. But the bar in the Senate is even higher. So, and no party is going to get near that threshold to be able to hold a president to an account.
No, for sure. 2/3.
So
I mean,
he now realizes that he can do whatever the fuck he wants.
right. Because the thing about it is
And
that
not face any repercussion, whether he ignores courts, whether he ignores the House, the Senate. He's now on the autocratic glide plane.
yeah, yeah, it's going to be very interesting because it is it is true that a state could issue an arrest warrant for him for crimes
Yeah,
having been
state
committed
could.
here or there. Uh, and I don't know what would happen then. But what I do know is that when Nixon was up against it, there was unified backing from the Republicans saying, yeah, this guy has gone too far and he's got to go. And, Nixon had picked, Gerald Ford, who was a nice guy, but an idiot, as sort of his insurance policy. Like, look, you can't impeach me because God knows you don't want to leave Ford in charge of the country. But the
But it
Republicans,
gave us Chevy Chase on Saturday Night Live.
exactly,
Ford.
and
That
the
was
Republicans came around. They
beautiful.
did they said that things were going on. I could never imagine that happening here.
No,
You could
no,
never imagine that happening.
I don't think. I mean, I think they understand that if this all comes crashing down, that there's going to be no safe place for them. And I think even the Republicans back in 1974 understood that when it came to the 76 elections, they were going to take a pantsing,
Yeah.
and were willing to do that. I this crowd, yeah, I certainly don't see Marjorie Taylor Greene turning on Donald Trump or Lauren Boebert or any of the cavalcade of ass clowns that currently make up the majority of the Republican Party in the House and Senate. But then I also will say absolute cowardice of leadership on the Democratic Party side when you look at Chuck Schumer voting for the continuing resolution. Um, there now calls for them to be replaced. Uh, Democrats were polled, and the Democratic Party is at its lowest approval rating in years, because I think the rank and file understand that no one's standing up for them. Like, there's a few individual members that are making great speeches on the floor of the House, making great speeches in congressional committees, but when it comes to standing up to them, the best we're getting from anyone is Europe putting tariffs on red state products and Canada.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the current resistance. I don't trust Massey, honestly. I think he'll
I,
cave.
well, I mean, I don't know about cave, but I think that his agenda is very much realpolitik, and he's more interested in seeing government shrunk than he is with the preservation of law and order. And
Well, I don't
because
think
of
I'd call
that,
anything that's going on right now law and order at all.
yeah. Well, I mean, that's exactly it. I mean, I think standing up and supporting judges, and I do think that we are headed for, a crisis of
I
intervention.
think we're in one.
Well, we haven't gotten to a point yet where,
Well, I
I
mean, he's
mean,
ignoring judges right now. I mean,
is he ignoring the judges, you mean, in terms of the deporting people? Or are
he's
there
ignored
other?
judges. I mean, he's continued to push judges when it comes to the layoffs, when it comes to other pushback from the bench on his plans. I mean, right now, I think he's going to act until someone
Yeah, right.
steps in,
And,
physically steps in.
but what would that look like?
It's going to have to be. It's not going to be. Uh, it's not going to be JD Vance.
No,
He's too
no,
busy with the Davenport.
it's not going to be
Um,
20. It's not going to be a 24th Amendment scenario.
oh no,
So,
he's got. I mean, every person he
so
picked for his cabinet are essentially lapdogs, and nobody wants to stick their necks out like Mike Pence. I don't. I mean,
right. The
Congress. I don't. I mean, Mike Johnson's basically
you
human toilet paper.
well, what's interesting about it is that, yeah, if Congress were somehow to grow a backbone, then they could do something.
Yeah.
But they can't. I mean, they have no. Careful, Daryl.
I'd like
That's
to welcome the members of the NSA who are tuning into the show tonight.
right.
Thanks for joining
And
us.
tell them that, yeah. But any references to John Hinckley, not. It's an interesting thing because, well, so first of all, let me point out that when that happened, when there was an assassination attempt on Trump, it essentially locked up the election for him. As soon as it happened, I'm like, he's got it. He has got the election right now. And I thought then, I said the only thing that, in fact, I believe I said it on the air, that the only thing that they could do, the Democrats could do, would be to pull Biden out and announce something else.
An
to
open
recapture the
primary.
momentum. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, again, the Democrats only have themselves to blame in that
Oh yeah,
for the second time in 2 elections against Donald Trump, they thumbed the scale for their chosen person, whether it was Hillary Clinton in 2016 or whether it was Bernie Sanders or whether it was Kamala Harris in 2024.
Yep.
And it didn't work out. Like it
would
have been much better if they had done an open convention. That would have been fascinating to watch.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because we've been talking about this specifically in Massachusetts. So Ed Markey is the junior senator from Massachusetts, even though he's been in federal office a lot longer. He was first elected to federal office, I think, in 1972. But when Kennedy left, right, there was a seat available. No, not Kennedy. Sorry, John Kerry left. There was a seat available. Elizabeth Warren has Ted Kennedy's seat.
Yeah.
Markey won the primary against a man named Stephen Lynch, who is a member of the House from Boston, huge with unions, and a social conservative, as much as a Democrat can be a social conservative. So he lost the primary, but everybody thinks that he would have won the general. And so it's a really interesting case for the Democrats to realize that the people who can win their party nominations probably can't win general elections.
Well, I think that's always and we got news on that this week that But generally, the group that takes like the last election, I would say probably take it out of the equation. But the group that triangulates towards the center from their primaries, who is not as beat up by their
Right.
primary inner fighting, um, tends to have the advantage in the election. Now, last time you didn't have a primary for Kamala, you
Right.
really didn't have one for Trump either. I mean, there were people there I mean, basically the resistance of one of those big banners at a high school
Right.
football game. I mean, that was essentially
Yeah,
what Trump
that's a
had to
good
run
thing.
through.
I say, actually, I mean, Marco Rubio did run against him briefly, as did Nikki Haley. You know, Haley at least stuck it out. Rubio gave it up and then became Secretary of State.
Yeah, and now he's the uh, basically the fall guy. I mean, he's like the only straight. I mean,
Yeah,
straight as straight can be. Straight guy in the administration at this point.
yeah.
The rest
The
are
guy
just
with legitimate experience.
comic
Somebody,
villains of
yeah. Somebody, right. Rubio legitimately elected from Florida in saner times. Uh,
Florida
yeah,
for Florida.
it's and you know, but what's interesting about it too is that you know we can come around to this, but well, I guess we should finish up on the suspension of due process
Yeah,
and what could be you know deporting somebody for violation of free speech. Now, I'm going to disagree with Daryl a little bit here, in that there's a couple things about it. They are going to it's my green screen again. Somebody's going to complain about it. I'm going to fix it. There's a there, how's that?
a flock of seagulls, and he ran so far
Exactly.
away.
Uh, deporting free speech.
You're going to
Oh,
disagree with
yeah.
Daryl.
So there's a couple of things about Mahmoud. Um, the the question as to whether or not he participated in the trespassing. Uh, the question as to whether or not he advocated supporting. So in the thing there, in the act that supersedes this, which Daryl talked about, U.S. 8/12/27 or whatever. If an organization is declared a terrorist organization and you give support to it or you speak support to it, that is a deportable offense. And so Hamas has been declared a terrorist organization. Now, there's a big difference between saying from the river to the sea and saying I support Hamas.
Yeah,
So,
I mean that's the problem, and again,
right,
this is stuff that needs to come out in a trial,
exactly,
full due
due process,
process,
exactly,
not hearsay from some people
yeah,
who are butthurt over
yeah.
whatever happened. And if he did, I mean,
I mean, I get that
I
people wish that you could support Hamas and stay in the country. But that's just not where the law is. If you're a citizen, you can.
yeah, I
But
don't know. I'm having I mean, we're seeing the chilling effect on free speech in universities now, where
oh yeah, shutting
universities
down.
are seeing their funding shut down. Columbia's lost a ton of money.
Yeah.
And it's not just with this, but the Department of Education shut down. Johns Hopkins University had to let go of 2,000 people because research and grant funding were stripped.
Uh,
And
University of Massachusetts canceled one of their doctorate programs.
yeah,
30 students.
University West Virginia universities faced cuts. I'm sure Marshall University here as well will face cuts. Um, the Department of Education thing that we can touch on this whole Department of Education, the wind down of what happens here. Like, who's going to enforce Title IX going forward? who is is Title IX going to be a thing going forward?
Right.
You know, the research and things like that. And we can always have that libertarian discussion of should the government be funding research for universities.
Right.
You know what? When it comes to funding things, there are hierarchies of wasted money in the federal government. I don't think research is a wasted fund of the federal government. There are some things that we can look at, like individual research, and be like, do we really need to do that? Like the whole thing that Rand Paul talks about with the cocaine use of spiders or some shit like that. That he talks about. Okay, I get that. But again, let's look at each of these things rather than we're just gonna slash it.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's
and
just not responsible.
it is, and it's happening in such a haphazard manner that nobody
Yes.
can say this is how you should do it.
No,
Um,
no.
I don't.
And
Yeah.
well, and they try and sell the idea that, okay, well, they're gonna take the money that goes to the federal government for the Department of Education and block it out to the states. Again, the federal government's $38 trillion in debt. What
Right.
money? What money are they going to block back out of the states? The states are going to have to make up that shortfall. West Virginia here, we are way in the
Right.
hole if
Well,
federal funding for education K through 12 is stripped.
I'll play a little bit of the devil's advocate here. Nobody had that money, and that's what the problem was.
Sure,
I mean, you can't say the federal government should keep giving us money that they don't have. But
that's the problem is they're selling it as that.
right, exactly. What I mean, the best thing to have done would just be do an across the board. We're going to have a balanced budget. This is how much money is coming in. This is what we can afford, and everybody
You can
gets
save
cut
$38
down to
trillion by cutting Elon Musk's corporate welfare.
38 trillion.
38 billion, sorry.
Billion. Yeah, I mean, all of those things, all
Yeah.
of the things. There's plenty that we can cut.
And
But if it has to be done in an organized manner.
yes. I mean, because here's the thing, because they're finding out when they're just slashing stuff and slashing stuff and slashing stuff
Right.
without even looking at it. And then they realize, oh shit, that was something we really needed, like the veteran suicide hotline.
The nuclear
The nuclear, watchdog
yeah.
agency. Hiring those people back,
Yep.
they couldn't find some of the people for the nuclear watchdog agency and some of the CDC
Yeah.
stuff that they've had to rehire back.
And we're looking
that
at
that kind of well, you're losing one institutional knowledge. You're also losing, your delays in because when you get rift and when you get or summarily fired as these folks have been, you turn in your badge, you turn in your laptop, you turn in
yeah.
all your stuff. To get that reissued to you takes time. It's extra money. We're losing money by doing it this
Well,
way.
and there's a fascinating thing, and you tell me if you think this is a fair statement, David. There are some people in government service who are there because it's government service. 20 years to a great pension
Retirement.
plan, etc.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people in government service who could be making a ton more money in private practice, but
Sure.
are doing it because
They believe in service.
exactly, they believe in the idea of service. And those people, when you let them go, right, they suddenly realize, well, geez, I could be making all this extra money. And those are going to be the people it's going to be incredibly hard to replace. My
Well, and
wife
that's
was,
what they lost in the DRP. So what happened with the deferred retirement program is that you saw people who had been working in this, government service, that they realized that they could make more money. Either they were getting close to retirement,
yeah,
it really just didn't matter. Like a couple more extra years into the retirement system, it didn't really matter, and they don't want to serve this administration. The other people were good career-minded folks that kind of took a look at it and said, I think I can get a job within the next few months, and I'll just ride out to the end of this fiscal year. get a job in the private sector, either making as much or more money than what I'm making here in the federal service.
Right.
But again, it's about service. Like there's an inordinate amount of people in the federal service right now that are veterans that served in Iran and Iraq, or the Iraq War, served in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
They are. I mean, they're getting fired. They're getting let go. It's not. I mean, you can say it's not favoritism, but again, DEI programs were veteran programs. Veteran programs are a DEI program because it was including a underserved community that traditionally has problems getting employed when they come back from service.
Well, and arguably, I mean, the first DEI program is the military,
Yeah.
right? I
Yeah.
mean, you look at the incorporation going all the way back to the Civil War, but then Truman essentially forcing
The
the Army to
integration of
be,
yeah,
of the armed forces. And now, right?
but they're undoing that.
Well, it's going to be interesting because I don't know what the breakdown is, but the last I saw, we can look it up. The demographic breakdown of the armed forces was not consistent with the United States breakdown. In fact, you had many more minorities looking at the armed forces as a way to succeed, right?
Yeah.
A place where you can go and commit to service.
Get
And
your GI Bill,
yeah,
get
exactly.
your
Right.
loan guarantee benefits, your education benefits, your all the things by, again, serving your community, serving the nation when it comes to, and we can debate about war and all the bad costs when it comes to war, but
Right.
again, they put themselves on the line, especially anybody who served in the last 30 years, because
Yeah.
we've been in a period of war since August 2nd of 1990. People don't understand it. We're still in a period of war. We are still considered an active period of war since August 2nd of 1990. And all those people are veterans, though. All those people are actually eligible for pension benefits, even if they don't get service connected benefits, just for being in a period of war. Um,
So,
we're in a situation where, the one of the biggest stats, I know I've said this on the show before. The last beneficiary of the Civil War died in 2020.
yeah.
And, so we're talking 150 years past the conflict, we're still paying for beneficiaries. So we're talking what, 2170, 2175 at this point?
Yep. I mean,
I
it's pretty
mean,
crazy, but if you think about it,
if
right? The
America's
guy
still
who's
around,
the guy who's 90 years old marries a 15-year-old, which was completely legal. And he was 15 when he joined the army. So he's born in 1850. He lives to be 90, so he lives till 1940. 1936, he marries a 16-year-old woman who's born in 1920, right? It's completely conceivable
yeah. Oh
that
yeah.
she's
I
going to live
mean,
to be 100 years old.
the story of this one was, he actually served on both sides. He was both Union and Confederate. He served Confederate first, then left and served in the Union Army. Um, he married a widow, a young widow, early 30s, um, and she had a child with him, and that child was deemed helpless, had some cognitive disabilities, and she lived to like 90 years old. So I mean, there's
Gotcha.
I mean, that's how it happened. And again, we made this promise to veterans that you serve, we were going to take care of you, and it's actually I mean, when you think about what's gone on, we've got now 30 some odd years of a period of war. We've got a cadre of trained fighters.
Yeah.
And if you just turn them loose on society without any benefits, without any health care or anything like that, there's a chance they may turn against you. So you give them benefits, you give them education, you give them health care, and they
Well,
mollify to an extent the large weapons trained population that you just brought back into your country.
I mean, it is interesting that we've always had the idea of citizen soldiers as opposed to a professional
Yeah.
class. I mean, when people do 20 years, uh, that's a long time. But generally, most of the people who do 20 years are out in their 40s,
Yeah.
right? That's not a lifetime. They go on to have a second career or do something else. Incidentally, I just looked it up. The U.S. Army is currently 50% white and 50% non-white, which is
Wow. That's
different from the breakdown of the U.S.
absolutely, yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but it's not surprising.
It's good. I mean, again, we can debate whether the use of force that the United States has done for the last 30 years is justified or not. But again, uh, yeah, the military is a DEI program. Like it has brought legions of people from non-traditional backgrounds
Yeah,
into mainstream American society with a hand up with education, with housing benefits, with small business loans, all kinds of stuff. So I don't
yeah,
know. I mean, again, what we're seeing in the government right now is cuts across the board. Yeah, lots of veterans getting shut out of jobs that they you know I've read a story about a guy who I think he got hired by one of my former bosses and had traveled from Boise to Washington D.C. And a lot of times when you take maybe a supervisory position within the federal government, you're actually put on a probationary period. Even if you've worked for the federal government for a long time, you'll get put on a probationary period for a couple of years, or actually a year. And they those folks got let go just because their probationary period was still running January 20th.
yeah.
I mean, it's just asinine.
Right. And I did see that there's been a ruling that the probationary people couldn't have been let go. However,
But again, they're ignoring the courts.
but it's also like 2 months later
Yeah.
that they got that ruling. So what do these people? I mean, many of them have moved on.
Yeah, we hope. Like I've got a friend who's was one of the DEI firings, and they're doing court cases and all kinds of stuff, but he hasn't moved on yet. But I will say that if you are in that position of having been let go by the federal government, seek all the resources you can. There are plenty of resources out there, um, and especially mental health resources. Make sure that you're taking care of yourself because that's paramount when you get into a situation like that. Because job loss is something that can really negatively affect your mental outlook, your uh, you know Uh, things I've heard people, not having the drive to go out and look for jobs. They lay around on their couch and they feel bad
Yep.
for themselves. Take care of your mental health, because that's going to help you get back on your feet much faster.
There are. So I've been laid off twice, and the states actually have really good resources for this sort of thing. Aside from the fact that you get paid unemployment,
Yep.
which everybody should go and collect unemployment as soon as
Yeah, you're
possible.
paying into it.
That's your money. You've been
Yep.
paying that your entire life.
Yep.
But then the state really does have a lot of good resources, job fairs. It is, you're not alone in that capacity. And I think we've talked before, my big thing, right? I want to help people find work. I want to help people who want to work
Yes.
find work. And it is, that's
And
because, I know in those situations, like I worry all the time. I worry especially now, right? It would be easy for me as an older person to be let go from a job and be without an income. And
yeah,
what would that mean? I mean, who would want to hire me? I mean, I look good, but um,
it's that beard.
it's an important question. And so in that space, yeah, for sure, if you're somebody who's been laid off, take advantage of all the resources that are out there.
Yeah.
Uh,
And for feds, if you're watching this on LinkedIn, and have been laid off, states like Maryland, New
Junior,
Mexico, California are reaching out to displaced federal workers to work in their state government. Now, state government tends to pay a little bit less than the feds, so be prepared for the pay down. But getting back into the work, and again, honestly, I've talked to several people who are out there who think that once Trump land is over, that there will be a rehiring of some federal workers. Not all, but I've got a feeling that once this is done, that they're going to start, rehiring federal workers, and
Wait,
we can always debate about the
But
economics behind it,
what?
and
No, no, yeah, right, that part's interesting. I don't think that's true because I don't think many people are going to want to come back because looming over their head is the thing that the next Republican that gets elected is going to do this all over again.
oh, I know. We're going to have to start seeing some breaks put into what the president can and can't do. Um,
But I
my
mean,
my hope is that that Congress will start reasserting itself.
right? I mean, there are pretty good breaks put in. The break is Congress
Yeah.
and the courts, and
Well, the break was burnt out by the Supreme Court. That
right,
break is burnt out. Like there really is no stopping the president at this point. And you can make the argument that maybe in the past that we would have eventually got to that decision anyway if another president had been brought down that trail. Um, but yeah, I mean, now you got a president. The the thing I hear from a lot of people is thank God it's only he only has 4 years.
right,
We hope.
yeah, right. Another
I don't know.
constitutional change, which would be crazy, but I mean, it
I
would
mean,
be
if
interesting.
they get the constitutional amendment passed to allow him a third term, we're in far far worse shape than
Well,
we're
right,
thinking.
right. I mean, because it still has to go to the states, and they don't have the states for that.
No.
But it would be interesting to see if if you to do a poll like that and say, of elected officials, say, would you support repealing the 22nd Amendment so that Donald Trump could be president for a third term? And see what they say. See if that alarms anybody.
Well, we've already had somebody put in a legislation for it to start the ball rolling on that.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, there have been a lot of things that there's weird Trump love that some of those folks in Washington D.C. are the genuflecting towards Donald Trump, the idea of putting him on Mount Rushmore, renaming
Did you see?
Dulles
Did you see the Mount Rushmore at
mock-up.
Mar-a-Lago? Yeah.
No, I didn't see the one at Mar-a-Lago, but I've seen the mock-ups, and you're like, oh no,
So,
that
so they have a gold one at Mar-a-Lago now,
oh
with
Jesus,
him as the fifth head on the right hand side.
oh my God. Um, they're talking about Dulles, renaming Dulles and
To Trump Airport.
the Trump Airport, which I mean, if Democrats complain about flying into Reagan,
Yeah.
I mean,
Boy, it's a tough spot, and the problem is too. I don't know that the solution is electing the Democrats.
I mean, again, you see Chuck Schumer, he capitulates. Um, is
But I
there
mean,
any?
we talked about that a little bit, right? I mean, we talked about it. Didn't we talk about that last week?
No, I mean, Chuck Schumer didn't announce until this week that he was
No, no,
going to vote
but
for
but
the
I
PR.
had I had been talking. Where it really came up was at Grover Norquist's breakfast on Wednesday. But there, several people told me, "Oh, the Democrats are absolutely going to let it pass because it would be so much worse for the country if they didn't." And so, I mean, in this case, Schumer did the best thing possible, in my opinion.
Well, I
I
mean,
mean,
it didn't
people like,
matter in the end.
it totally
They didn't
matters.
need
Here,
they didn't need the
here,
Republicans. The Republicans didn't need their support. They ended up
no,
getting enough Republicans to vote.
no, they for cloture. They
Oh,
didn't
for
have
cloture.
cloture. That was the point. Schumer still voted against the bill, right? He just voted for cloture.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Again, I don't think that that Congress, the Democrats, I mean, for God's sakes, that their protests. I mean, there were a couple that were okay, but the little paddles that they held up, like it was some kind of auction, um, during the State of the Union, well, whatever the State of the Union address was actually called.
Right.
Their protests are, again, they're giving nice flowery speeches on the floor of the Congress. We're just not seeing any concrete pushback. Um, there's a couple of members that are out there that are doing some decent things, but again, they're not leadership. They don't have anywhere near the levers of leadership.
Well,
We're not hearing Hakeem Jeffries. We're not hearing Chuck Schumer. We're not hearing um, even Nancy Pelosi as Speaker Emeritus. Let's get some forceful shit out there. Like, you got to stop doing this. We're not.
I mean, you do hear from AOC. You have
Yeah, again, but AOC is nowhere near the powers of lever
well
powers
because
levers of
right
power. There we go. That's it.
because the Democrats have kept her away from them in
Exactly.
return for other stuff, and so you know I think the Democrats they do need to decide whether or not they want to embrace the progressive aspects of the party.
I mean,
Right?
there's a danger in that you embrace the more radical wing of your party and you end up with a
Trump,
left version of Trump. Like, I mean, that and
sure.
yeah, you're going to say, well, there's no left version of Trump. I mean, I would argue
Well,
that Donald Trump is fairly left when you compare him to any other Republican in the last
Donald Trump is
100
to this
years.
day. Donald Trump is to this day the largest single donor to Hillary Clinton.
And what, he gave like $5,000 to Kamala Harris as well? Like,
Yeah, I mean he has Donald Trump is a New York Democrat. Okay, the
yeah.
thing about it is that he is also a businessman who doesn't like an unbalanced budget.
Well,
Now,
he's a businessman who is used to having people tell him that he is the most smart, most
right.
funny, most original, greatest businessman that ever lived.
Well, it's actually worse than
Absolutely
that.
there's nothing that's redeemable as far as his leadership abilities.
On my Facebook page, a friend of mine is a producer for a bunch of different cable networks,
Hmm.
and one of the guys he worked with was the showrunner for The Apprentice, and he said, we want to apologize because the people that voted for Donald Trump think that he's Donald Trump from The Apprentice. And he's nothing like that. That was a TV show. He was a bumbling idiot, but we set him up to look like he was brilliant. We created a scripted show that made him seem like he knew all the answers. But in reality, he was fed all the answers. He doesn't
Yep.
know anything. And so, here we are. And for sure, that's clearly true. But
We're starting to see some health issues with Trump too. I mean, he stumbled getting onto Marine One today. But things that when Biden did them, we saw chapter and verse headlines about them.
I mean, good Lord, we need to encourage him to eat more McDonald's and other things. But I don't know. That guy's
He's
got a
on
lot of
cocaine.
energy. Yeah, maybe he should take up cocaine.
Go back on
I,
cocaine.
I,
It's a
I
hell of a
don't.
drug.
Yeah, and I will say too that it's worth mentioning that when Trump went to the halls of justice, right, and made a speech to people who don't know, he went to the Justice Department headquarters and essentially made a speech where he said everybody who had prosecuted him, everybody who'd worked on cases against him, was in fact an enemy of the state. That's just full
That's
blown
scary.
dictatorship.
Yeah.
And that part of it is wrong. I wonder, and that's what I hope will be the thing that eventually wakes everybody up. And it might take a little while when they start saying, look, you've set yourself up as a dictator. And at that point in time, people will hopefully rise and say, that's not okay. But it's going to take more than what we've got so far. Because right now, most people, or the people who care a lot, but a lot of people are apathetic.
I mean, the other thing that concerns me, ever since Doge started getting into the payment systems, Treasury, IRS now, the way they're going to exert control is money.
Yeah.
Most money is digital right now. They could, in with this, with a couple key clicks, wipe out your bank account, wipe out your investments, wipe
Freeze
out,
it, right?
yeah,
They
freeze it.
froze Habitat for Humanity's funds.
Yeah, like that's how they're going to control people. Like you can't do something, you can't protest the government if you don't have any money. Well, I don't know. I mean,
You can't do anything. People are rightfully afraid of that sort of thing. Hopefully, that level of control, as it starts to rise up, that has to be the thing that wakes people up. And I don't know who the popular figure is, and that's an interesting question too, because everybody who
Gavin
tries to
Newsom's
rise up,
tacking to the center.
huh?
Gavin Newsom is tacking to the center.
Yes. Well, and it's an interesting thing because he has possibly the best base to come back from that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so, I mean, obviously California was going to blow blue no matter what. But as governor of California, he has
Oh, he's got. I mean,
capacity.
I mean, it's just like when they started talking about Cuomo coming back in New York City.
Yeah.
There are lots of things there that you got to unpack with both Newsom and Cuomo.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know that Andy Bashir is that inspirational
No, no,
person to drive the Democrats to the polls.
no.
And
So I have two things. One, excuse me. I do think that it could be Newsom. Uh, but also I think the Democrats should put a lot of work into turning Texas blue because I think the numbers are there.
I do
Uh,
too. Well, I
all the
mean,
cities, all the cities are blue, and that's got to be most of the state.
yes, but um,
By what margin?
Trump crackdowns and stuff like that. I mean,
See, yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, I think what you do is you have to work it out so that it turns out to. That's funny. Uh, Daryl knows
Daryl's
everybody.
gonna get us in trouble, man.
Daryl,
Flagged.
I hope there's a Squeaky Fromme reference coming soon. Oh, the yeah, Texas,
Cuban pigeons say coo, coo.
right? That's funny. I do think though that the Democrats could do a better job running for governor if they just put the best people they have on it. And if they flip Texas, that changes everything, right? That is the margin of victory. It's what
Yeah.
I think Texas has 8,000 electoral votes now. Um, right?
They're second to California. They're but I
They're
mean,
like at 41, 42.
yeah, and California's what, 52 or 53, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So,
so that would be a huge flip. Uh,
well, here's the other thing that might flip it. Let's just say for shits and giggles,
yeah.
Canada decides to join us. Canada, 40 million people. That's roughly the same population as Canada. And
As
even
Texas.
the conservatives in Canada are pretty.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
they're not. They're like.
They're hardcore lefties. They support a tax on television.
Do they have the tax
Hey,
on television like England has?
I thought they do. I thought they have a CBC
Well,
support.
they get the CBC. I don't know if that's. I mean, that's public tax.
I'll ask ChatGPT real quick.
Yeah, but you bring in 40 million people. Even if you split it out and you don't do like the single 51st state, you split it out. Let's say for
Canadians do
territorial
not pay
integrity,
any tax.
the provinces become states.
Right.
You are essentially guaranteeing the Democrats win the next 10
Yeah.
elections, if that. And you're going to have socialized medicine, and if you're a Democrat, having Trump take over Canada is probably not the worst thing that you can. Now, I will say I don't approve of taking over Canada. Canada is its own country, and there are some
Right.
ulterior motives when it comes to Russia, when it comes to why Canada and Greenland have been a focus of the Trump administration. But yeah, if Trump manages to pull off taking Canada into the United States, that would be a disaster for Republicans. It's that
Right.
one, be careful of what you wish for. We often create the cudgel with which we are eventually beaten.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Daryl does point out that even with Texas, Trump still would have won.
Yeah. I mean,
Pretty crazy.
the sweeping all of the swing states was brutal. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
now I'm starting to see Democrats starting to talk about that Trump stole the election and coming out with their conspiracy theories, and I'm like, oh boy,
But at least they didn't storm the Capitol on January 6th.
this is true.
Well, if they had, maybe Trump would have pardoned them too.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't
I
think
did see
either.
a funny meme I shared this week is that people are not attacking Tesla dealerships; they're tourists showing their love,
Yeah.
and I'm okay with it.
So Daryl, they changed the they changed the way I believe the House works, and that it is now capped no matter how many people are in.
Yep, still 435.
Exactly, 435. So even if we annex Canada, what happens right now is roughly one representative for every 770,000 people.
Well over a
And
million.
yeah, and if we put in
40 million
what
people.
do I mean? Yeah.
So we'd be closer to almost 400 million people in the United States. Now, I am an advocate of we need to create smaller districts, have fewer people. I put out this stat before that if our legislature was formed just like England's, there would be like 3,000 legislators.
Well, so Daryl lived in the great state of New Hampshire, which has the, I believe, third largest legislative body, democratically elected legislative body in the world.
Yeah,
400
400.
members of the New Hampshire State House.
Yep.
For population of New Hampshire is 314, and that includes four-hoofed animals. So
Nice.
yeah,
Prince Edward Island also has Anne of Green Gables, and
PEI also has
one of the
Christchurch.
links of my obsession with redheads. That's neither here nor there. So
Yeah, but however, Trump has banned PEI because it sounds just like
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
definitely going to have to rename it after a better prince. I like princes who are still alive. I think we're going to name it after my good friend Prince Harry. Prince Harry Island.
No, Prince. It'll be Prince Andrew. I'm sure.
Prince Andrew. My companion
Lord.
down on Epstein Island.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Speaking of Canada, Canada actually has a new prime minister. Prime Minister Hot Pants is no longer the prime minister of Canada. Mark Carney is now the new prime minister of Canada. He won the Liberal Party election to be the leader of the party and took over for Justin Trudeau, who is no longer the prime minister. Mark Carney is a central banker, which I'm sure the right-wing conspiracy theorists are going to have a field day with. But yeah, they have flipped the election. The conservatives were on track to having a majority in the parliament and without help of any other party, and now it has flipped. The liberals are in a razor thin lead. We're expecting Carney to declare a election anytime now. They have to hold an election before October. That's when the 5-year mandate for Justin Trudeau's last election
Right.
runs out. So we'll see what happens there. But this is all reaction to Donald Trump.
Yeah, I
And
mean, honestly, Trump cost the conservatives the election.
yes,
They had it in the bag.
I mean, at best, there were conservatives could form a minority government.
Yeah.
At this point, that's kind of their best case scenario. But the liberals have
Excuse me.
climbed, the conservatives have collapsed. Pierre Poilievre, the conservative leader,
Yeah.
really just got. I mean, when Donald Trump came in, it was
They
Justin
saw the polls.
Trudeau.
It's a big
Yeah, I
down.
mean, it was
Yeah.
just a no. I mean, it looks like the stock market, like it just went
Right.
downhill for them.
I
But
did
yeah,
not see the Greenland election results.
yes, I did see the Greenland election results. So two parties that are pro Greenland independence, read not subservience to the United States, but independence
Right.
from Denmark,
From Denmark. Yeah.
won an election. It was a surprising election there in Greenland that those two parties won. Again, I don't mind if Greenland is independent. I don't want it to become a vassal state of Trump's Washington.
I mean, if they voted for independence, let them be independent for a while.
Yeah.
Right? If they want to
let-
join the United States, they can petition. But I don't want them to come in because the president annexes them.
Which that's the thing. I think once it'll be a situation where they'll announce their independence, and then the United States is going to flex its muscle and say we're annexing Greenland.
Yeah.
To hell with what Nuke says. Which
Right.
great capital name, Nuke. NUUK.
Right. It is. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And then the other thing is that Trump has really marshaled the Canadians against America, and it's crazy because the Canadians. I mean, with all due respect to England, the Canadians are our best allies,
Yeah.
right? I mean, and 9/10 of the world thinks the Canadians are already Americans.
Well, I mean, Canadian is what Americans pretend to be when they go overseas.
Yes.
I
It
mean,
is.
we've got the ugly American perception. A lot of backpackers will slap on a Canadian flag onto their backpack when they're going across Europe because they don't want the baggage that comes with being the ugly American, especially now. Like I
Right.
think now is even worse.
Right. And nobody cares if you're Canadian.
Yeah, I mean, again, there was no reason to pick a fight with Canada. Fentanyl is not a reason to pick a fight with Canada. The numbers of amount of fentanyl that was coming across the border was not a reason to pick a fight with Canada. He was picking a fight with Canada to distract
Because
them to.
yeah, right. It's to make us think. I mean, there might be some issue about negotiating for oil sands or whatever, but the reality of it is that it is just distraction. It's just smoke and mirrors, and in many ways, I mean, first of all, it's definitely backfired, right? We're going to get a liberal government in Canada.
Yep.
And it's interesting too because like you look at some of the stuff that Canada had, right, with the trucker strike and some of those other things. There is a nascent conservative movement, and they were about to get on the big stage. Donald
Yeah.
Trump shut them down.
I mean, it's not like the conservatives have been in wandering in the wilderness. I mean, they did have the last prime minister
And, like,
before Trudeau for a
they're
long time.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
like, and even now, I think they have like 30% of the seats in Parliament.
Yeah.
But it's a it's a great example of how Trump has no idea how to actually be political. He's just won the American election because, right, the opposition had gone crazy. I mean, and Trump's not a Republican, right? He's Trump. He
Yeah.
just sort of exposed the emperor having new clothes, and really in both parties.
And we're all paying the price for it.
We are all
Isn't that
paying the price
fun?
for it. I think it's quiz time.
I think it's quiz time as well. We are 11:13. So big announcement before we go too much further into tonight's show. On April 6th, we will be moving the show to 8 p.m. Eastern. Next week we won't have a show. I'll be traveling, so no show next week. But April 6th, we will be moving to 8 p.m. Eastern,
And
and
that's happening. You guys might have heard that Trump has canceled Voice of America. We are honored to step up and fill in
yes,
that time slot. So we'll
yes,
be moving the show to April 6th and
voice
replacing
of
Voice of
Dave.
America. Yes. Voice of, we should pick something else. But on April 6th. So mark your calendars now.
Maybe we should call it the shadow government. I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah, there we go.
Who
All
knows
right.
what evil lurks in the hearts of men? The shadow knows.
The shadow government knows.
Nobody else is going to get that except for me and Janice.
I know the shadow.
You know the shadow? All right. I guess they did make that movie with Billy Zane, right?
Yeah, a few years ago, but I'm not that much younger than you.
That's
So
true. I used to listen to old time radio dramas. I wasn't allowed to watch television as a child, and so I listened to old time radio dramas, and Shadows were fantastic.
yeah. All right.
Uh,
Context clues. There's the Mr. Carney, the new Prime Minister of Canada. Some old ass fossil fish. Kind
yep,
of looks like a shark,
yep.
and I believe that's probably steel.
Chuck wants
All
us to
right.
get Atlantic time zone, which is the Azores. Nope, it's going to be Eastern.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind if we moved to Atlantic time zone to, because of the daylight savings time. If we just got rid of daylight savings time, moved to the Atlantic time zone, that way you're doing the half hour thing.
Yeah.
Cutting the half hour, that would be great. I'd be okay with that. But
Yeah.
question. So this is the CNN News quiz. It was from March 14th, so that was Friday. So everything that's happened this weekend is not on here, including those nasty storms that are rolling through today. Question number one: President Donald Trump imposed sweeping tariffs this week on imports of what metals? Aluminum and steel, gold and silver, rare earth metals, or copper and iron?
And you have to answer in the form of their names on the periodic table.
Aluminum and steel.
Yes.
Randy says.
Yep. And steel is not on the periodic table, so that was a quick trick question.
That was a trick question.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
correct. Trump imposed a 25% tariffs on all steel and aluminum imported into the United States, a move that threatens to drive up prices on a broad range of consumer industrial goods. Just think of everything that involves aluminum and everything that involves steel,
Well,
housing.
the thing about it is, if you were an American who made aluminum or made steel, and you weren't able to compete beforehand, wouldn't you just raise your prices by 20%? And now you're 5% cheaper than the other guys because they got to pay because of the tariff added onto their things.
Yeah.
But you still jack your prices up, so the
Yep.
consumer gets screwed.
All the ways the consumer gets screwed. And in response to this, Europe imposed tariffs on red state products, so like Kentucky bourbon,
Yeah.
some stuff,
And I saw
Texas-based stuff.
Canada put a tariff on electricity that they ship, and they
Yep.
ship a lot of electricity over the border.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think they may have delayed that, but if you're
I
a
saw,
consumer in the Northeast, especially,
yeah,
be prepared for a rate hike in your electricity bill. So,
yeah, winter's going to be expensive.
question number two: Elon Musk X was hit with several waves of outages this week. What year did Elon Musk acquire the social media platform formerly known as Twitter? 2014, 2016, 2020, or 2022? I believe it was 22.
I think it's 22 when it finalizes. It was an interesting thing. So Real Report, we have to use the the Twitter API and get a developer account. They still call it that. They haven't transitioned that over to X yet. It's through the Twitter developer account. It's crazy.
Oh wow.
Daryl
Trump is
also
going
thinks
after our
2022.
hats.
Yes.
Daryl says 22. Brandy says 2016.
Oh no, it's 2022.
Yeah, no, it's
I mean,
20.
it's
It was
either
relatively.
2020 or 2022, and I think it's 2022.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Musk bought Twitter in 2022, immediately implementing widespread cuts and major
Yep.
changes. A lot of people saying that the federal government cuts by Doge are mirroring what they did at
Yeah.
Twitter, X, whatever you want to
And
call it.
and I mean, they did have that problem. They released a lot of people that they had to hire back at more
Yep.
money.
They had to hire him back. They very cold firings of longtime employees and
Yeah.
um, yeah. Again, you can't treat this like business. There's fundamental differences, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. I wonder how long Trump or Musk sticks with Trump. Question
I
number
don't
three:
know.
Canada's Liberal Party elected Mark Carney to replace Justin Trudeau as its leader and the country's prime minister ahead of elections. What is Carney's career background? And I mentioned it. Um,
You did. You said it was career.
Entertainment, finance, forestry, or journalism.
You
He's
said
a finance bro.
yeah, which is weird to be a liberal, but
I mean, we're talking government finance though,
right,
as a central banker, so
right.
not completely out of the realm of possibility. But yeah, a relative newcomer to politics, Carney has had decades-long career as a finance, where he steered governments through major global crises and periods of upheaval, which really not
Yeah.
surprising. And even Trudeau had some finance background as well before he got uh, into politics as well. Question number four: British character actor Simon Fisher Becker died this week at age 63. He once portrayed a ghost that haunts Hogwarts Hufflepuff house in Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. What was his ghost name? Creature, Fat Friar, Nearly Headless Nick, or the Bloody Baron?
I like that they put such a tricky answer in there. I'm pretty sure nearly headless Nick is John
That's what
Cleese,
Brandy
and
says
so he's.
Nearly Headless Nick.
I don't think that's it. I think that they're trying to trick us. I could be wrong. Um, in fact, I will defer to Brandy on this, but I
Yeah.
think. Well, I don't think it's Creature. I don't think it's the Fat Friar, and I think the Bloody Baron is from a different fantasy series. Uh,
All
so
right, let's see it. I'm almost want to say Creature, but
right,
maybe.
right. Well, and also she says,
Oh, it's the Fat Friar.
yeah, yeah. So that's the thing. It
And
just,
Brandy got it right there at the end. So
yep, yep, yep. So we should count it for ourselves. But yeah, that's exactly it. Because nearly headless Nick is John Cleese, and he was Gryffindor.
there you go. Question number five: An Indonesian TikToker with nearly 500,000 followers was found guilty of spreading hate speech and sentenced to prison after doing what on social media? Saying Jesus should cut his hair, tearing up a photo of Taylor Swift, sharing the personal phone number of Indonesia's president, or saying Scientology is not a religion.
I'm gonna guess it's the Scientology one because those guys are
Hey,
litigious as shit. Tearing up a picture of Taylor Swift is like,
they're litigious, but Indonesia is the world's largest by population Muslim nation.
yeah.
Um, ah, I don't know that they would go that hardcore on Scientology. Um,
You think it's sharing the personal phone number?
it's
Randy's
either the
phone
personal
number.
phone number of the president or the saying that Jesus should cut his hair because Jesus is still venerated. Oh,
Yeah, that
Randy
seems like
says phone
I,
number.
I don't think that's it. All right, so we're gonna split. I'm gonna say it's Scientology, but let's go with Randy's phone number guess.
No, saying Jesus should cut his hair.
Wow.
Ratu Talisa, known online as Ratu Entok, was sentenced to more than 2 years in jail for telling Jesus to get a haircut. The court ruled that her comments could affect public order and religious harmony. Again, Jesus is venerated in the Muslim religion. He's not a prophet per se, but he is
Right.
one of the
Yep.
divinely guided. So,
There is it's an interesting idea that you could do an interesting collage of Jesus with different hairstyles. I'd be interested in seeing that.
yeah, some AI Jesus with
Exactly.
a soccer mullet, that type of stuff.
Goatee. I guess normally he has a beard, so goatee wouldn't be that different. Yeah, mullet. Uh, maybe like the Shaggy from Scooby Doo haircut.
There you go.
Okay, Reggie.
Buzz
This is
cut.
my
Yeah.
this is my blooded body.
All right, question number 6 before we get struck down. Two Norwegian skiers were disqualified from the Nordic World Ski Championships for what? Performance enhancing drugs, manipulated bodysuits, banned skis, or an inappropriate relationship with the judges. All of these are awesome answers.
Yeah, so I do know that the
That's all I'll
bodysuit has
guess.
been a common thing of cheating uh, in uh, in the super long jump.
Which one?
In the long jump,
Yeah.
uh, the which it looks like that's what these guys are doing here too. Um, they essentially make it like a kite suit, so you fly further because you've got and so that's my guess. And also, I'm going to say you and I are probably the biggest sports guys, including
all of
all
the
of our
above.
audience.
I would love to have it all of the above on this one, and for it to be true. But yeah, I mean, when I first looked at it, I was thinking the bodysuits just because that makes more sense.
Right.
I mean,
I
getting
mean,
roided up
right.
and
Performance enhancing
having a
drugs.
twice the size body to do ski jumping seems
Right.
counterintuitive. Um,
Right.
band skis that might work. Um, inappropriate relationship with the judge might work as well, but and it being two of them, that's even better. But we'll do the body suits. Yeah, correct. Skiers' bodysuits were found to contain a reinforced thread, making them stiffer and therefore more aerodynamic ahead of the men's large hill event.
Hmm.
Stiffer, more aerodynamic. That's interesting. Question number 7. Ukraine agreed to a 30-day ceasefire with Russia proposed by the United States after critical peace talks that took place where? Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, Brussels, Belgium, Washington, Washington D.C., or Odessa, Ukraine.
It's interesting that they would label Odessa as still part of Ukraine, which it is,
Yeah, it is.
but I think we all know this is Jeddah.
Yep, Jeddah, Saudi Arabia.
Now, the way they got Ukraine to agree to it was a Jeddah mind trick. Sorry.
Damn.
I mean, that joke is just lying there to be made.
Oh my goodness.
It'll be interesting to see if Russia takes this
Honors it.
because 30 days is 30 days.
Well, again, I think Russia is all about
They
getting
don't want to,
into a ceasefire so that they can replenish, restock, and reload.
well, but Russia, I mean, the same thing is going to happen to Ukraine. And Ukraine has more capacity to, at least in theory, restock.
Well,
However,
they also Russia has successfully cut off its major supplier.
right.
Yeah.
Well, sort of. I
Yeah,
mean,
sort of.
we just resumed U.S. aid to Ukraine. And what's interesting is, somebody said, we talked about the fact, right? Rubio started off as Trump's big critic and they were at war. And now he's Secretary of State. So
Yeah.
maybe the best thing that's happened to Ukraine is to have a big fight with Donald Trump. And then afterwards, he buys your loyalty.
Yeah. Maybe. Question number 8. The Ocean Census revealed this week that it had identified more than 800 new marine species. What percentage of aquatic life is believed to have been discovered already? 2%, 10%, 52%, or 85%?
I agree with
Randy has
Randy
2.
at 2%. I'm not sure if she's related to Bob Ballard, who found the Titanic. But Ballard is a name of great reputation.
Oh, it's 10%.
Damn it. Damn it, Brandy. I was talking you up. Oh.
No, I was thinking 2% as well.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, so here,
I mean,
here,
10% is still kind of alarming when you think about about everything. We look billions of years into space,
yeah.
and we still don't. We think that we are missing 90% of the creatures underneath the ocean.
Well, what's really interesting too is that we the word fish actually means nothing according to Jay Gould, famous biologist from Harvard.
Yeah.
We use fish to describe things that live in the water, but we don't have any word that's anonymous that's like fish to refer to things that live on land. Because, there's some fish that are just so incredibly different. We just say, oh, well, it's also a fish. But
Yeah.
all right.
All right, question number 9. A federal judge halted an execution in Louisiana after attorneys argued that the method is unconstitutional. What is it? Lethal injection, electric chair, firing squad, or nitrogen gas? I'm going to say nitrogen on this one.
They just executed somebody by firing squad.
Yeah, they fired. South Carolina executed somebody for
Yeah.
firing squad. You can request. I mean, there's a couple of methods in certain states that you can request. There's going to be another firing squad execution, and for those at you home keeping score, the neither Dan and I believe in the death penalty as a form of legitimate punishment. But
Right.
I think it's nitrogen.
My guess would be the electric chair, because I would think the nitrogen gas would be fine. Any inert gas, is supposedly a very painless
Well,
way to
electric
go.
chair has already passed muster. I mean,
Right. Okay.
lethal injection has had issues with access to drugs.
Right.
Firing squad we saw just happened.
Right.
I can't recall.
That's why I think that it is firing squad.
Our Louisiana resident expert Heidi Alejandro.
She does live in Louisiana.
Yeah.
All right, let's go. Nice job.
Journey for death row inmate Jesse Hoffman Jr. argued that the execution method of nitrogen hypoxia is cruel and unusual punishment under the U.S. Constitution.
That's pretty crazy, because it's supposed to be painless. I mean, they have people who
I don't know if it's painless or not.
Right. There are people who have survived it, who will tell you that they survived it doing it in a thing that we can't talk about without being, banned.
Yeah.
But there are people who have survived that sort of thing, and they say, "Yeah, no, there was no pain. I was just unconscious."
Yeah.
Suddenly.
Question number 10. A South Carolina woman was arrested and faces charges for sparking a wildfire by doing what? Oh my goodness. Igniting yard debris, throwing a cigarette, setting off fireworks, or lighting a bonfire.
Yep. I don't know this one.
I don't know this one either. I'm going to say igniting yard debris.
I'm assuming that's a picture of it.
It looks like it, yeah.
It is South Carolina.
Yeah. Randy says debris.
Heidi said cigarette. Heidi's on a roll. I'm inclined to go with throwing a cigarette. Those Carolina states, they're the last to give up tobacco.
This is true. It would be a very Carolina thing to have.
Yeah, and I can't think of any reason you'd be setting off fireworks right now.
No, it was debris.
Damn it.
Son of bitch shit.
Brandy had it.
On the beach. Shit.
What did we end up with?
Well, like 6, I
7?
think. Yeah, 6 out of 10. We got a D.
We got a not bad.
Not
We
bad.
got a good enough.
Not great.
Registration.
Not bad.
Not bad.
Now we
Yeah.
see the violence inherent in the system. Shut up! Oh,
Nice.
come and see the violence inherent in the system. Help! Help! I'm being repressed. Bloody peasant! Oh, what a giveaway! Did you
That's
hear
a
that?
giveaway.
Did you hear that, eh?
Classic.
Oh goodness. Yeah. That was no bueno. That's all right. I'll just come back next week. Well, actually not next week. The week after. It'll be our last 10 o'clock political deep dive will be on March the 30th. So we'll be marching out of March
Back
with
in June
the last 10 o'clock show, and then we'll have all the fun ones for 8 o'clock early political deep dive. So all right. Well, thanks everybody for watching us. Thank you, Heidi and Daryl and Carol and Brandy and Janice and everybody who's joined us tonight. Dr. Moulton, y'all are all awesome. And give us a like, share, subscribe wherever you're at. It helps us out. And we
You
will
forgot
talk.
Craig.
Oh, Craig. Yeah, Craig, of course. Just give us a like, share, subscribe wherever you're watching us from. And we
You also
really
forgot Tom Queter.
Oh yeah, Tom. We didn't give him. Well,
Yeah.
he's got to come to Dan's house to get cake.
Exactly. But don't forget that on our Facebook page is a link to join our brackets.
Brackets.
You got to get them picked by Thursday, folks. So get in there.
Basketball. Actually, no. Wednesday because the play-in games.
Yes, but the playing games you can pick right now. It doesn't matter who you. Oh, yours.
You have to get your play-in games picked by Wednesday. Thursday is
right, but you don't have to pick a winner of the play-in games. So, for example, I picked Xavier, Texas, as one thing.
Yeah, it may be a little bit harder because I mean, University of North Carolina is one of the play-in games, which shocking, but they would get an 11 seed. It's rare for me to see the University of New Mexico with a higher basketball seed than the University of North Carolina. But all right, well, yes, go fill out your brackets. Join us again. It's
in 2 weeks. But if you have any questions, guys,
$5.
You can always reach us on the webpage.
Yeah.
Put your questions, stuff like that. Daryl, I don't know any way to do that.
I don't know.
But you can invite me to join your ESPN league as well. I'm very interested in playing as many brackets as I can for as much money as possible. So
ignore that IRS.
No. I always lose. That's why I get to.
That's true. I'm the donator. I should be able to get like a tax break for the amount of money I give when it comes to brackets. So.
Yeah, I agree.
All right.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Have a good one, y'all. Yeah, happy St. Patrick's Day. Enjoy yourselves responsibly tomorrow. Don't be that person that ends up on Facebook.
Exactly.
All right. Have a good one, y'all.